don't know about you, but every time I'm watching this video, I'm like, I'm ready to take my
It's
money.
amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Somewhere on the bucket list for sure.
Yeah. So, Alaska as a destination is one of the most popular for us for oil. For if you talk about EMEA guests, it's not as, I would say, populated, I would say, probably. In terms of, I mean, first of all, it's quite far. It's we don't have any direct flights from here, so you will still need to have a connection somewhere in the US or Canada. It is quite remote, and we don't really know a lot about Alaska, so that's why we want to educate you as much as we can on this wonderful destination. So, why Alaska? First of all, it's glaciers. I mean, it's probably one of the places on this planet with the most number of glaciers, and this is the best place to see it because they are untouched. Second one is the wildlife. Oh, Christy is coming to us.
Christy, please shout if you're with us. Otherwise, we'll carry on driving.
I guess we keep going. Wildlife.
Here.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
I apologize. It took a lot of work to get into this meeting, but I wanted to be here for everyone. So here I am.
Okay.
So we've just started the Why Alaska slide. So maybe should we hand over to you on glaciers, Christy?
I mean,
Yeah.
She's been
glaciers,
there.
yes. Yes. So Alaska is absolutely breathtaking, you guys. I was one of those people who was like, why would I go to Alaska? My mom really wanted to go, and I was like, all right, fine, we'll go to Alaska. So we went. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, which is very similar in a lot of ways to Alaska. And I went to Alaska and was like, oh, this is why you go to Alaska. It is breathtaking. It is absolutely gorgeous. Of course, one of the popular options is the glaciers or the glaciers, as Matt just said. It's absolutely amazing to see these glaciers, and I've got a video that we'll show on the next slide, which is so beautiful and highlights just what you can see in a glacier. It's a blue ice and it's gorgeous, and they calve, which means a chunk of ice will drop off, and it sounds like a crack of thunder. It's just gorgeous. But outside of that, there's also things like the wildlife. So there's so many different amazing things. You can sit in any of the different venues on board the ship with windows. And of course, we do Quantum class and Radiance class ships up in Alaska, which means that you've got acres of glass on Radiance class and so many venues on our Quantum class ships that allow you to sit there in the Windjammer and 270 venue or even in the Centrum area and sit there and look out, and you never know, you might see a whale spouting out in the distance, you might see seals playing out on the side, you might see animals off on the like bald eagles out on the land, because you're not that far away from land at different points during your cruising time. But then of course, once you get into Alaska, you can go see the sled dogs, which is a super fun option, or you can go see black bears along the trip too. So lots of amazing ways to see wildlife. Of course, if you add in a cruise tour, if you do that, that's going to add even more wildlife that you get to see. Of course, nature is all around, and that's a big part of Alaska, right? It is such a big territory. There's so much space, so much open space, which, being in Europe, open space is at a premium here, right? You still have it, but it's harder to find. And Alaska is just miles and miles and miles and miles of open space. So lots of choices to see. It's a gorgeous part of it. Of course, a big part of Alaska is people want to see the mountains. So Denali it used to be called Mount McKinley, and then we went back to the original native name of Denali. So it's been Denali, Mount McKinley, and now Denali again. It's the mountain, right? This is something that you can't see though on a cruise. So very important to note that if you have a customer talking to you about wanting to see Alaska, wanting to see the mountain, they do need to get on a cruise tour, which is going to allow them to go into the interior of Alaska to see the mountain. And every single cruise tour does include a stay at Denali, so that you can absolutely enjoy that feature of going to Alaska. Additionally, it's a whole different culture. So you've got so many different things culturally. The people of Alaska are very proud of their culture and they like to share the history of what they have. Absolutely amazing to get to chat with them about the different things that they know and the different things. Of course, Alaska was really founded for the U.S. in the 1800s in the gold strike, the gold rush times of the world, where people were out striking it rich. And so you can still pan for gold today. Very, very cool option that you have. Of course, we can customize experiences with all of the different uh, shore excursions and things that we can add on. And if you do a cruise tour portion, the adventure specialists that you have on that are really good at helping you understand the best adventures to add on to your trip. And Alaska is amazing for all ages. So this is really a great opportunity for families to get out and see a different part of the world. It's very different. I've been here in Europe for the last almost 2 years. We're over a year and a half now, and it's Alaska is a whole different world. It's a whole different ball game. So it is absolutely amazing to get to see and experience all of the different pieces in Alaska. Matt, go ahead and show the video on glaciers now. This is going to be a fun one for everyone, so enjoy this.
Amazing.
Isn't it gorgeous? Absolutely stunning. So yeah, the glaciers are a big part, and we do have a few different glaciers that we stop and see. Hubbard Glacier being one of the key ones, and Endicott Arms and Dawes Glacier is the second one that we go to most frequently. So we do have 4 different ships per season at this point in time. We've been doing that for a number of years, where we have 4 different ships. 2 of them typically go out of Seattle, and those tend to be our Quantum class ships. And then we'll have a ship that goes out of Vancouver and does round trip or return trips, just like the ones out of Seattle do. But then we'll also have a 4th ship that does out of Vancouver and into Seward on a northbound trip, or out of Seward and back to Vancouver on a southbound trip. So that's a 1-week trip all the way from Vancouver to Seward, or from Seward to Vancouver, as opposed to doing a quick round trip up and back again in that same week. That same 7-day window. Those ones, those 1-way trips are the ones where you can add on the cruise tour to really truly get the full experience of Alaska by going up into the interior of it. There are a total of 11 ports of call that we offer in our in our Alaska sailing itineraries. So some really great options there. Of course, showing you just a quick highlight on those 3 different ports. Seattle, we've got the Space Needle, we've got the underground tour. Some really fun things. Matt, next slide, please. Just really amazing options on your time in Seattle. I've spent a number of different times. We used to drive up for a long weekend to Seattle because it was about 6 hours away from where I'm from. Vancouver, Canada was about 10 hours, so I only did that a couple of times. Quaint little town. I say little. I mean, you can see it on the picture here. There's still some small skyscrapers and that sort of thing, but it feels a little bit more quaint, a little bit more intimate as far as a big city goes. And then Seward, absolutely in the heart of Alaska, on the coastline there. So this is where you're going to have that jumping off point, and there's some amazing stops off of Seward while you're there. So even if you do that 1-way option and don't choose to do a cruise tour edition on that, you can still spend a couple days in Seward and really experience a lot of different places. So looking at our schedules for next year for our 2025 season, you'll see that Matt, next slide, please. Out of Seattle, we've got the 2 ships, Quantum of the Seas, and of course, Anthem of the Seas, which you should all be familiar with from her time in the UK for the last number of years. Both of these are doing 7-night sailings. They are round trip. Notice that Matt, will you go back to the presentation part of it? Thank you. Notice that our itineraries start in May and they end in September. Alaska is a very seasonal option, you guys. This is not the place that you want to be going in November, December, January. I mean, it is if you just want snow, but it's not if you want to go get to see the things that you would see and experience on a cruise holiday. So it changes things a little bit. So it is a seasonal option for cruising May through September. Serenade is doing that 7-night Alaska Inside Passage in out of Vancouver and back again. And then Radiance of the Seas for 2025 is doing Seward to Vancouver or Vancouver to Seward. So that's 7-night northbound or 7-night southbound. Almost all of our itineraries include glaciers, but please make sure that you read the itinerary because there are a few options. And maybe Matt or Alex can correct me, but it's either the Alaska Adventure or the Alaska Experience that typically does not include that glacier sailing. So keep an eye on that. If your customers want to see glaciers, make sure you're reading that because that is a huge draw. So that is definitely something that you want to make sure you're getting the right information to them. Matt, will you tell us a little bit about our consumers that we have on our Alaska sailings?
And these consumers, we're looking really in this slide at our markets. So it's really relevant to you all. Commissionable APD, $157. That's the average per day. When we look at the type of guests, it's quite distinct for Alaska. What we see is our guests have a perhaps higher than our average age guests at 52-year-old. We have a longer book of 7.5 months, and we have a higher proportion of couples than perhaps would be our average. And again, that reflects when you know, in the generation, so a large proportion of boomer. Perhaps not unexpected. Alaska's one of those once in a lifetime, you plan it a long way ahead. That's probably no surprise, but I thought interesting to show this slide all the same. Now, thinking forward to 2025 and looking at what has been popular with your markets in the past, we wanted to flag a few sailings. So I wanted to flag Serenade, who will be sailing out of Vancouver on the 7-night Alaska that Christy mentioned. We will also have Radiance out of Vancouver, and she will be on the northbound 7 nights, so the one-way. And also our Quantum class out of Seattle, which will be doing the 7-night Alaska. So yeah, they're perhaps some of the key sailings to watch for. Yeah, I hope that slide's helpful. And now
Amazing.
we go
Thank
from
you,
somewhere very, very white and cold to somewhere very colourful and warm.
You know, the interesting thing about Alaska is that it's not necessarily white. There is still a lot of blue. There's a ton of green, but you're not wrong that it is very cold.
True.
It's very cold certain parts of the year. I went in September and it was in the 70s, which is, you know, mid-20s in Celsius. So it wasn't cold, but it doesn't feel warm either. Layers, layers, layers. Unlike in the Caribbean where you can see that, you know, you're in a suit, a swimsuit and your bathing costume, and that is all you really need. So in the Caribbean, of course, it's in our name. You guys, we've said that multiple times. You guys know that no one does the Caribbean like us, and no one over here says it like I do. Everyone says Caribbean, but it's the Caribbean, and we've got a number of different ports that we cruise out of. Matt, please. So lots of different choices. Now, all of these choices, right? There's a number of ports here where we can get to the Caribbean and enjoy those itineraries. But the reality is there are 4 ports that you guys are going to see most often. And I'm going to talk very briefly about 3 of them. So Matt is going to show us, we've got Port Canaveral going out of flying into Orlando and cruising out of Port Canaveral. Cape Liberty is something that you guys are going to see more often. People want to go into New York, spend a few days there pre or post cruise, but still get down to the Caribbean. Almost all of those itineraries are going to include Perfect Day at Coco Cay. So nice opportunities. Fort Lauderdale and Miami are really convenient because they're about 45 minutes apart. And Matt's going to show us that on the next slide here. You can fly into one airport and cruise out of the other seaport. So whatever flights fit the customer best, whatever cruise fits the customer the best, If it's Miami and Miami, great. If it's Miami and Fort Lauderdale, not a problem either. You can see how quick and simple it is to get from one to the other here. So lots of great options just in your ports alone. And then once you're choosing, you've got some different choices. So we've got the Southern Caribbean options, lots of different ports. You can see this, the bottom box here is going to kind of highlight those. Of course, my personal favorite are the ABC Islands. They're absolutely pristine and amazing. As a matter of fact, in Curacao, you can see that the ship is docked right there at the town with this amazing view with all the colors, bright, bold colors, very, very on Christie brand, bright and bold all the time. St. Lucia is a place I've wanted to stop for a very long time. But we've also got some of these other ports up higher north in the southern area. So St. Kitts and Antigua, St. Thomas and St. Croix, those will be featured on Southern Caribbean itineraries as well. The next slide will show us some of the different ports that you'll see. So lots of different choices. Lots of different options. One of the things to note that I like to mention is that in the Southern Caribbean, we typically only cruise there maybe once a week, maybe twice a week at the most with our 29 ships, right? Whereas I can get you on a Western Caribbean sailing most days of the week. So Western and Eastern, you got lots of choices. Southern Caribbean, it's exclusive. It's not something that we do consistently. So finding those Southern Caribbean sailings is great. And if it fits for your customer, that's amazing. They'll typically be a little bit longer too, 8 or 9 nights. But one of the things to note, because it's less commonly done, right? Because we don't travel there every day of the week, they're also less touched, right? We're not the only cruise line who isn't down there every single day. So you might have a ship into some of these ports when, like, you might be the only ship in port on the days that you're there. If you see another ship, it's not the normal, it's the, oh hey look, there's someone else here at the same time as we are. Whereas in Cozumel you might find 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 other ships. Bahamas, you've got the same thing, you know, multiple ships any given day of the week. So these ports are going to have less tourists in general while we're down there. Next up, are we going to the Western Caribbean, Matt? Eastern Caribbean. Eastern Caribbean. So lots of different choices in the Eastern Caribbean. These tend to be more European feeling, in my opinion, for the ports that I've been to in the Eastern Caribbean. Lots of different places. Shopping is a very big part of this, is what I found when I was down in the Eastern Caribbean. You can see that Labadee, our private destination, is included in the Eastern Caribbean itineraries that we have. And you can see that some of these are the same that you saw on the Southern Caribbean itineraries. Here's a list of the ports that we have. It's not an exclusive list, but some of the different ports that you'll see regularly on Eastern Caribbean ports at call. Notice too that we've got some places that are like the U.S. Virgin Islands, but there's also the British Virgin Islands and different options. So there's lots of different choices. But again, these still carry a strong European influence in my opinion, from what I've seen. Is it Martinique or St. Martin? I can never remember which one. Has the Dutch side and the French side. So very, very interesting for the silly American here who went and was like, I don't speak any languages, I speak American. Trying to navigate around was a very entertaining time. As opposed to the Western Caribbean. So Western Caribbean, you're going to have a few different ports that you're going to see on a regular basis. So Cozumel is featured in just about every Western Caribbean itinerary that we do. Lots of history and culture there, Aztecs and Mayans and different things like that. Chichen Itza is outside of Cozumel. We've also got Puerto Costa Maya, which is a port town area. So it's not actually, you have to go out to do excursions from Costa Maya. Belize and Roatan are down there. My personal favorite, like this is the place that I tried to figure out how I could move there, is the Grand Cayman. So Georgetown, Grand Cayman, absolutely fell in love. Would move back there. I don't have anything specialized enough that they wanted me, so that was kind of a wash for me, but absolutely gorgeous. You'll also notice that Labadee is mentioned over here as well. So we do have different options to get to Labadee. Again, here's kind of that list of some of the different cities. if you can go to Georgetown, you guys, Grand Caymans is amazing. I was on Grandeur of the Seas when we went. So currently the smallest ship in my fleet, and we still had to tender in. So that is a note to make, that Grand Caymans is going to be tendering, and it's going to be on our smaller ships, typically our Vision and our Radiance class ships. Of course, Perfect Day at Coco Cay is also featured on our Western Caribbean itineraries, and our Eastern Caribbean itineraries. You'll find it everywhere. Then we've got Bahamas and Bermuda. So Bermuda is amazing. If you haven't been, it's well worth it. I know you got the Bermuda Triangle, but it's fairly safe. Don't worry too much about that part. We're not losing people anymore like we did, a couple centuries ago. Not like that. But there is actually, they say there's pink sand beaches in Bermuda, and I was like, what? There's no way. Oh no, let me just tell you, the sand is, it's a light pink. It's a very faint pink, but they are pink sand beaches, and they're absolutely gorgeous. Of course, most commonly you're going to get to Bermuda out of New York, so out of that Cape Liberty, New Jersey itinerary. Nassau is a hot spot. We go there regularly, and of course we're bringing in a new Royal Beach Club that we're bringing to Nassau, Bahamas, as well as Cozumel, Mexico, because we travel those a lot, and so now we're bringing in our own personal space for our customers. It'll be exclusive spaces for Royal Caribbean. So some amazing different ports of call, some amazing different options in all of the different regions, and of course one of our most favorite options to talk about is dun, 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 Perfect Day at Coco Cay, our own private island, which, if you guys have been on any of these sessions with us, talking at all about any of our stuff, you've probably heard us talk about Perfect Day at Coco Cay. I have been telling people a lot that I didn't realize that the words I was using to describe it were not good enough until I got to go last October finally. Thank you 2020 for delaying all of my travel plans. But Perfect Day at Coco Cay is just amazing. The water's beautiful, crystal clear. The beach is that fine sand that's nice and soft, and you enjoy being around it. It's not grainy or gritty that, you're like, I'm picking rocks out of my feet here. It's absolutely amazing beaches. We've got multiple different the harbor, and then different beach areas that you can go to. But we've also got the Oasis Lagoon if you want some fresh water as opposed to salt water. So you've got that option. And of course, there's so many different activities to take part in. You can pay to go to the Thrill Water Park. You can pay for Cocoa Beach Club. You've got the Hideaway Beach, which is our new adults only area. Matt's going to show us a video here about Perfect Day at Coco Cay first. And Matt, I don't know if your sound is working.
I'm not sure if it's coming through, but let's play all the same.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, so Perfect Day at Coco Cay. Of course, you've got the map here. You can see all the different areas, lots of different choices here. So again, lots of places that are complimentary, and then a lot of places that you can also pay for that elevated experience that you get to personalize and tailor to yourself by choosing what you want. Of course, Hideaway Beach is circled here because it is our new area, and that is our adults only area. So this is kind of that Ibiza Beach Club vibe, where you've got DJs going all day. You've got pool chairs and pool and beach umbrellas. You've got cabanas that you can rent, 2 different styles of cabanas down here. There's a swim up bar. There's the beach area, the bay that you can see there. Absolutely amazing. We've got, I believe, an image and then a video for Hideaway Beach. Is that correct, Matt?
No video.
Oh, we did not put it in. Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. You're going to tell us all about the
put it
people
in
who are
the when we publish. Maybe we can attach the video.
Perfect. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about who we're booking for Caribbean out of our Europe and Africa regions.
Thank you, Christy. That's great. That's amazing. And I still can't wait to get to Perfect Day at Coco Cay. It's on my
Totally worth it.
Absolutely. Seems like I'm one of the few that hasn't been so far, but I will try my hardest. So, Caribbean. Unsurprisingly, perhaps, our guest profile is quite typical of our average guest profile. So what do we have? We have quite a high commissionable APD of $181 average per day. So that's quite high. Our average age is 38 years old. Booking window, just under 5.5 months. And unsurprisingly, perhaps, more than 51% families and 40% couples. The split between Gen X, minor and millennial is actually somewhat even between 20 and 30%. And the real big sellers from our markets and what we think will sell really well in 2025. So the itineraries to look out for is, of course, Icon out of Miami, doing East and West Caribbean, 7-nighters. Wonder out of Port Canaveral, again, 7-nighters on East West Caribbean. And also our latest ship, Utopia, again out of Port Canaveral, but doing short 3-4 night sailings. So really watch out for them, suggest them to your clients. They should go down a storm. Now, where can you find some collateral to support you? So just a reminder, we have our Club Royal, which is our EMEA trade portal. Here you can find flyers, social assets, videos, everything you might need. Now, we've got a QR code here. That will link through to the respective pages on the trade portal. So please use that. We have a dedicated area for the Caribbean. And again, we've got a QR code there. Same, flyers and videos, social. And again, we have another separate area for Perfect Day and its own dedicated toolkit. So really encourage you to take a good look at that. And Alaska, the QR code also features here. Again, the same, flyers, socials, videos. So hopefully that's all the information that you might need. And any problems, please don't hesitate to give us a shout and we can give you a hand to help find it. So thank you for being with us today. Apologies for the late start. We do have more webinars coming up. So on the 26th, which I believe is Thursday, Christy stars again in Asia, China. We also
and I'm not on the road, so it should be nice and easy to get there on time.
Brilliant.
And my video's working now, so I mean, all the pieces are going to be there on Thursday.
Next Tuesday, I will be hosting alongside Vincent Alasia. Vincent Alasia is actually Mr. Next Cruise. He pretty much was there from the very beginning. So he's going to tell you the story of Next Cruise. So that should be really insightful. And then later in the week, we will have Alex and I's boss, Natalia, hosting a session alongside our colleague Max with respect to onboard revenue and the importance of onboard revenue. So please stay tuned for those sessions. We will publish a recording of this webinar. Maybe we'll snip off the first 8 or 9 minutes, but we will publish that and Alex will share on an email post this session. All the other webinars are also located in the same area. So please, if you want to go back and reference something that we've done over previous weeks, please do. And lastly, but not least, most appreciate if you can share some of your feedback. We have the web link here and we have a QR code. So please do give us some of your feedback on the session today. Thank you. Any questions from anyone? I know Alex is handling the chat for us.
No questions, just some positive comments about Alaska. And some people wish to go to Alaska. Some people have been in Alaska already, but not with Royal. Which is, I mean, unforgivable. Does
that really count?
It was celebrity, so it's fine.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you ever so much for your time. Apologies that we're 9 minutes late to finish and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Alex. Thank you all.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.